Laval is a town in western France, about 300 kilometers southwest of Paris, and the capital of the Mayenne department. Laval was before the French Revolution part of the province of Maine, now split between two departments, Mayenne and Sarthe. Its inhabitants are called Lavallois. The commune of Laval proper, without the metropolitan area, is the 13th most populous in northwestern France and the 119th in France. A part of the traditional province of Maine, Laval is also lying on the threshold of Brittany and is not far from Normandy and Anjou. It was thus an important stronghold in northwestern France during the Middle Ages. Laval became a city during the 11th century, and was the cradle of the House of Laval, one of the most powerful families in Maine and Brittany. The Counts of Laval developed a textile industry around 1300, and made Laval a significant centre for the French Renaissance a century later. The linen industry remained the principal activity in Laval until the 20th century, when milk processing became more profitable. Laval developed around a promontory, on which the castle was built, and along the river Mayenne. The Laval metropolitan area is a small economic centre in western France, particularly active in the industrial sector, dairy production, electronics and chemicals. Laval is economically oriented towards Rennes, the administrative capital of the region of Brittany, and located only 80 kilometers west of Laval. Laval proper covers 34.2 square kilometers and has a population of 51,182 inhabitants, while c. 120,000 live in its metropolitan area. The Laval agglomeration intercommunality is made up of 20 communes covering 433 square kilometers with 95,000 inhabitants. Laval is notably the birthplace of Henri Rousseau, a major naive painter, and the town has a museum dedicated to him and other naive artists. Laval also enjoys a significant architectural heritage, with its castle, portions of city walls, medieval houses, old bridges and churches. Toponymy. Laval is a relatively new foundation in comparison to other French cities. That is to say that the borough was not officially mentioned prior to the 11th century. According to legend glorifying the Counts of Laval, medieval chroniclers portrayed the citizens of Laval as being the offspring of Charles Martel's grandson Waller of Corbie. By virtue of the chronicler's accounts, Laval should be a synonym for valor or valor, the two spelling variants of Waller. Etymologically spoken, however, the name of Laval, in all likelihood, merely stands for the valley in French. To capture the lush valley of the Mayenne River, wherein Laval is situated. This name commonly appears in other French location names, sometimes with a second word, such as in Laval d'Oral or Laval-sur-Doullon. The first mention of the town was the Latin Vallis Guidonus, meaning Guy's Valley, because the Counts of Laval were all called Guy. On its side, the castle was usually named Castrum Guidonus or Aula Guidonus. During the 11th century, Laval is also called Castrum Vallis or simply Vallis, and Lavalis appears in 1080. Other Latin names include Vallis and Castrum de Valibis. Lavalum Guidonus is first written in 1239. After the Renaissance, Lavalis and Lavalium are both commonly used by the clergy and the scholars. As in Latin, the name evolved in French from Laval-Guyon or Laval-Guyon to Laval in one single word. Laval is one of the few cities in the world to have a palindrome as a name, as Laval can be read the same way in either direction. Geography. Location. Laval is located at the geographical center of the Mayenne department, on the road which connects Paris to Brittany, between Rennes and Le Mans. The town is situated on the middle course of the Mayenne, a river which has its source in Normandy and runs towards the Loire, crossing the Mayenne department from north to south. Laval is located approximately 70 kilometers from Rennes, 75 kilometers from Le Mans and Angers, 130 kilometers from Nantes, 135 kilometers from Tours, 150 kilometers from Caen and 280 kilometers from Paris. It is also 100 kilometers far from Le Mont Saint-Michel and the surrounding ski resorts, located on the English Channel. Elevation varies between 42 and 122 meters above sea level. Laval is in fact a hilly town, marked by a rocky promontory dominating the valley of the Mayenne River. The castle was built on this promontory and the medieval centre spreads around the promontory, and the slightly hilly landscape around Laval are traces of the Armorican Massif, an old range of mountains that forms the Breton Peninsula. The town is surrounded by agricultural land essentially made of large fields. The traditional bocage with its old hedgerows is still partially visible. Laval is also surrounded by several woods and forests, such as the Forêt de Concise, with c. 600 hectares, and the Bois de Huisserie, with 254 hectares. Both are located south of the town metropolitan area. The commune of Laval is bordered by 7 other communes. These are clockwise: Changé, Bonchamp-les-Laval, Forcé, Intrams, Huisserie, Montagne-le-Brillant and Saint-Berthevin. Saint-Berthevin forms part of the agglomeration, and Changé and Bonchamp-les-Laval are well integrated, but the other communes remain rural areas with villages and hamlets. 12 other communes situated farther form with them the agglomeration community of the Laval agglomeration. They unite together c. 95,000 inhabitants. Climate: Laval enjoys a very mild climate because of its proximity with the Atlantic Ocean and the English Channel, giving it an oceanic climate. Winters are usually wet, with scarce frosts and snowfalls, and summers are warm and sunny, although rainfalls are common. Urban morphology: the oldest streets and buildings in Laval are located around the promontory where the castle stands. The urban structure there dates back from the Middle Ages and is limited to the western bank of the Mayenne River. This old core is today the main shopping area, with several pedestrian streets and little shops. Several medieval half-timbered houses are still visible, but most of the buildings are dating from the 18th and 19th centuries and are made of tufa. The suburb of Avesnes, located 1 kilometer south of the castle, is a former commune which merged with Laval in 1863. Founded in 1073, it still comprises several old houses and a medieval basilica. Other large medieval hamlets absorbed by the town include Le Bourg-Hersend and Saint-Martin. The eastern bank of the Mayenne was also settled in the Middle Ages, along the street that leads to the bridge crossing the river, but it was mostly developed during the second half of the 19th century, when the train station was built there. The old faubourgs surrounding the town centre date from the same period and are mainly composed of individual houses. The 20th century suburbs comprise some council estates, but individual houses are much more common. Some shopping centres and several industrial areas are located on the outskirts of the town. Laval is encircled by a small ring road and the Paris-Rennes highway bypasses the town by the north. Until the 20th century, Laval had a port on the Mayenne River, which was surrounded by several factories, mainly linen manufacturers. The old industrial areas were redeveloped after 1970 and the river has become since a recreational area. Aerial view of the faubourgs on the eastern bank of the Mayenne River. The medieval town is still encircled by several portions of city walls. View on the Mayenne River and on the faubourg of Avesnes, south of the centre. Green areas: Laval is a small town and nature is not far away from the centre. The town manages 25 hectares of parks and gardens, and 200 hectares of green areas in total. The largest park is the Jardin de la Perrine, located in the centre, at the top of a rocky promontory. Formerly a private garden, it encircles an 18th-century mansion and comprises a French and an English garden as well as a rose garden, an orangery and a small menagerie. This park encompasses 4-5 hectares. Henri Rousseau, a major naive artist born in Laval, was buried there. Apart from the Jardin de la Perrine, the main green areas in the center of the Square de Boston, refurbished in 2012, and the Square Foch, located on the Place du 11 November. which is the central point of the town. The commune of Laval owns the Bois Gamats, a 25 hectares wood located on the southern edge of the town. The neighboring Bois de Huisserie, much bigger, is managed by Laval agglomeration.